So if you die without your teeth, you cannot come back with teeth. I mean, because legends are scientific. Legends stick to reality. Legends. If your grandfather dies on Monday and he comes back on Thursday and he has new teeth, you're going to say, grandfather, that's not you. Legends are really close. People invent legends to protect them from fears they have from the outside. But they stick to reality generally. For example, you want to kill a vampire. Okay? Mm-hmm. You take the stake, the hammer, you go in the cemetery in the morning, you take the earth off, you tear the coffin open, and you put the stake in the heart of the vampire. Which means that the vampire, every time he comes back in his coffin every morning, he lies in the casket, he closes the coffin, he puts the nails back, he puts the earth back, he buries himself. That's stupid. So people invent psychic vampires who do not have to move physically. That's scientific. It sticks to reality. So, if you don't have teeth, you can't have teeth. Problem is, how do you bite with no teeth? Because in the minutes of the trials, they do talk about people are accused of biting. How do you bite when you have no teeth? You kiss. The vampire bite becomes the vampire kiss. What is a kiss? It's a toothless bite. And it's a scoop in my book. People used to bite each other before kissing each other to prove their love throughout history. Biting precedes kissing. Wow! They never tell you that in school. Why? Because if biting is nice, you will not be afraid of the vampire. And the Catholic Church hates vampires because it's competitor to God. God, you drink his blood on Sunday and you go to heaven. A vampire drinks your blood, you stay on earth. And most people prefer to stay on earth. I can prove people do not love God, they're afraid of God. The love of God lasted 200 years. After, the church replaces love by fear, because it's with fear that you control people. St. Augustine, who was one mean son of a bitch, decides the 5th century that all children who are not baptized who die go to hell, which is not nice. But the church is not nice. They're here to frighten people. So people imagine that being a vampire is nice. So, the text that say that biting is nice. I have the text. The first text is 2,000 years old. Before Christ. It's the ancient book of Egyptian medicine. It's one of the oldest books in the world. It's called the Ebers manuscript. When you're bitten by someone or something, you have 6 cures to protect you. 1 cure against scorpion bites, 1 cure against snake bites, and 4 recipes against human bites. The Egyptians used to bite each other a lot. Wow, and it's not rabies. So I continue my research, and I find Ovidus, the Latin poet, the Metamorphoses. That's not his most interesting book. His most interesting book is called My Love Life, which you'll find on the internet. Ovid is in love, he's 20, he's poor, he's a student in Rome. He'd like to marry the girl he loves, but he has no money, so the father says no. And he's very jealous and very hurt. 1 year later, he meets the girl in the street, and he slaps her very hard, and she bleeds. And he regrets it. He goes home and he writes the first text against violence inflicted to women in the history of literature. Maybe you could give that to kids in school. No. The book disappears. He says in the book, you do not hit a woman, even the one you love. That's one of my top favorite sentences. You leave on her, it's the last sentence of his book, which you'll find on the internet complete. You do not hit the woman you love, you leave on her neck the traces of your loving teeth. Listen guys, you don't hit the woman you love, you bite her in the neck. Everybody knows that, except us. And he's not inventing a solution, he's reminding people that it already exists. I say, wow, why don't they tell us that at school? Biting is nice. In kindergartens, babies between the age of 1 and 3 bite each other at school. So parents tell me, is there a vampire? I say, no, it's nice. We don't know why, but you bite when you love someone. And I don't know if it exists in Italian, because originally, I'm from an Italian descent. I'm from, my family's from Viareggio, in Tuscany.
Okay.
My grandfather was a famous sculptor named Giacomo Bartolotti. And voilà. And je suis ému, what I'm saying here. Okay.
Linda, per favore, mi traduci l'ultimo pezzo. Excuse me.
Di origine toscana, Viareggio.
Io vengo da Viareggio.
Yeah. Ah, it's a sign, I see, yeah. And a very, very nice man. And my mother, on both sides of her family, grandmother and grandfather, was from a very rich family, and my father was a much more artistic poor. And my mother used to tell my father, our ancestors probably met. My ancestor owned galleys, you know, where slaves row.
Galleys.
Galleys, the boat on which you You row, the slaves, hundreds of people row.
Oh, no, I don't know.
The galère in French.
Ah, galera.
Yeah.
Galera.
So my ancestors owned galère, and your ancestor rode on them. So that's how we met. I said, So, I continue my research, and I find a book by an Italian monk from Florence called Buon Campogno da Sigle. He's a Florentine monk of the 14th century. And he writes a book against sex, love, and seduction. Because women, since Eve, you are demons, eh? And everything which is prohibited to do to attract a man's attention. So no fancy hairstyle, no nice clothes, no perfume, no jewelry. And how does a woman convince a man she loves him? You meet a man in the street, you love him, but he doesn't know you love him. One gesture, not to inform him that you love him, to convince him that you love him. One gesture only. What do? You can't touch him, you can't speak to him. What do?
Cosa fate per convincere un uomo che vi piace se lo incontrate per strada?
Niente, per strada niente.
She said nothing. I don't do nothing.
Quello che ci deve convincere.
Is the man have to convince the woman, not the woman convince the man.
No, because you have the impression in the Middle Ages that women are victims. They wait for the man to get killed to prove his love. No, they're not static. Women in the Middle Ages, there's a tradition of courtly love in the Middle Ages, which is the most beautiful thing ever invented. It's almost science fiction. People took the time to reinvent relations between men and women, which the church hated. That's why courtly was destroyed. The Inquisition, for me, was invented not to fight heretics, but to fight courtly love. Because the invention of the Inquisition is 13th century. Courtly love lasts 100 years. It's destroyed. Courtly love is the most extraordinary invention. People took time to stop and say women and men is beautiful. You take your forefinger and you touch your jugular vein 3 times. You do that. Thus, the legend of touching your neck is erotic. It's not the neck, it's the vein. Come and drink my blood. I trust you enough to give you my life. That is a proof of love.
Okay.
Wow. And he's not... You do that.
Questo gesto qui.
It works.
Per cosa?
Try today.
Per loro?
Per convincere l'uomo che ti piace.
Ah, sì?
And it's not masochistic, come and torture me. It's I
C'è la
trust you
pena.
enough to share my immortality. And I find that so beautiful.
Ah, no, no.
It's better than going to church for me. And fourth proof, Philippe de Comines, Connmynes, is France's greatest medieval historian. He was a minister to Louis XI. He was a professional. He writes a book on the hatred between Louis XI, who was one of our nastiest kings, and Charles the Bold, the Duke of Burgundy, who's the last duke to have resisted the rule of Louis XI. What's the strongest verb in Italian when you don't like someone?
When
The strongest verb when you don't like someone is what?
Cosa fai quando...
Quando è il più forte verbo in italiano quando ami qualcuno?
Detester,
Ti amo.
you have.
Ti amo.
Haïr,
No?
when you don't like someone.
Ah, quando non ti piace
What's
qualcuno.
the strongest verb?
Ti odio.
Fai schifo.
Mi fai schifo.
You agree there are more, I don't know how it is in Thai, this lady's from Thailand. There are more verbs for hatred than for love.
Ci sono molti più verbi
In every
per
language in the
l'amore
world, you
che per
agree?
l'amore.
There's only one word for love because love is love. It's simple. That's why I love love.
C'est vrai.
How can you... What's the test? Is it twice as strong as hate? What is execrate? Is it 3 times? What's the statistics? You will find no dictionary that defines the quantification of hatred. Is it possible? Can you hate someone?
Yes, a lot of persons.
No, really. It's not evident. Do you have in your heart the capacity to hate?
I have my heart.
Can you hate someone? It's not evident. Is it?
C'hai qualcuno che odi veramente?
You
Yes.
can?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you execrate someone? A bit higher. It's hate.
Yes.
Do you know the word, the verb loathe? L-O-A-T-H-E.
Loathe.
It's the strongest verb in human language. There's no equivalent in French. It's inhuman. I say, how can you loathe someone? I mean, hatred is strong enough. And when I have children, 2 days ago I had 14 children from 12 to 14. And we talked about that. I asked a young boy, can you hate someone? He thinks, he says, perhaps. Interesting. He's never thought of it, but ask another girl, do you have real friends in life? She says, probably, but she's not sure. Ask another 11-year-old boy, do you hate someone? He says, yes. All my ex-girlfriends. He's 11. That's interesting. When you talk to children about feelings, they love it. But you don't talk about in school anymore. I taught for 20 years. I mean, you take time. The only way you can interest kids is through feelings. Let's say I have a trick question I'm going to ask you. Imagine you're all alone on a desert island, okay? You have food, you won't die of hunger, but you're all alone. You stay alone 6 months. After 6 months, I arrive, and I propose to send you a companion. You will no longer be alone. You'll have the choice between your best friend and the slave. Who do you choose? Not evident.
Cosa scegliete se siete su un'isola da soli?
Da
Dopo 6
6
mesi
mesi.
arriva lui e ti dice ti mando o il tuo migliore amico o uno schiavo. The best friend.
Best friend. Best friend.
Last year I had a group of children, 3 little girls of 8, tell me a slave. The first one says, I would not want to share my sorry fate with a friend. If I'm unhappy, why would I have a friend? Wow. And the little boy says, but a real friend would accept to share your fate. The second one says, a slave. I will make a friend out of him. And the third one says, a slave, he will not remain a slave long with me. That's the heart that speaks. And when you speak to people's hearts, generally, they answer with their heart. I had one exception in 12 years. Last month, a 12-year-old boy comes with his parents. Ask him the question. He says, a slave. Because if I don't have enough food to eat, I don't want to eat my friend. That is pure evil genius. But it is genius when you think of it. We would not have found that ourselves. So I ask him a second question. Are there some things you would refuse to do in life? He says, what? Betray a friend. He says, it depends on the friend. I say, no, a friend's a friend. It depends the interest I get out of it. He's only 12 years old. Some children are brought up like that. Ask a child, do you imagine there's something that exists that you don't see? He says, no, apart from money, there's nothing. He's 12 years old. I said, okay, I don't judge in that. But generally, the people who come here, they love legends. And when you love legends, all legends are love and friendship stories. That's why I don't like history. I prefer legend to history. Do you believe nice people can have bad legends? Or do you believe that bad people can have nice legends? No. Let me introduce you to the legend of the vampire tree. 6 countries have legends of vampire trees. Asia has one, Japan, Mexico has one, Madagascar has one, France has one, and Vikings have one. In Viking territory, when a baby is born, both parents go in the forest to find the baby tree. The tree represents the baby. Every day, one of the parents goes every day in the forest to see if the tree is still there, to water it, to trim it, to protect it, because the tree lives, the baby lives. You have to love your baby to do that. Christians wouldn't do that. Every day, 3 hours walk in the forest. The baby grows, the tree also. No, you understand? It's okay?
Yeah, nel senso...
Dice che cioè, quando nasce un bambino c'hanno un albero e controllano che tutti e due stiano bene. Tutti i
con
giorni.
l'albero, come
Sì.
si fa anche noi pagani, sì.
So when the baby becomes an adult, he gets married, she gets married. The first one to die, the husband or wife, the surviving spouse, husband or wife, will go in the forest every day to drink 3 drops of the blood of the tree, the sap of the tree, so that the memory of the dead one will never leave his heart. That's immortal love, and that's a vampire legend. The tree protects those who love each other. And that is, how can you invent a legend like that if you're not nice? I mean, come on. So Vikings were not that bad. They're presented as very violent, that's bullshit. But the Christians were jealous of Vikings. Because the priestesses, most priests in Viking territory, the Druids, were women. And women had real power in that time, and church does not like to give power to women. So they destroy these legends. So you have to fight these legends again. Everything concerning trees is nice. There's an old Celtic legend that says when a tree grows on a tomb, trees only grow on tombs of nice people. And the soul of the dead person enters the tree and becomes immortal. That means no heaven, no hell. Wow. So in the Père Lachaise cemetery, there are approximately 50 trees which have grown on tombs in supernatural positions. And there's a tree that grows, all the tomb is in the tree. It's the biggest tree in the Père Lachaise, a purple ash. So 10 years ago, I start the legend of the lady in the tree. I say, she's a nice lady. And the management hates me for that, so they cut the tree down. I got locked up to take a piece of tree as a souvenir. Let me introduce you to the lady in the tree. You see?
Questo è un pezzo dell'albero che è cresciuto a Père Lachaise, ci sono 7 tombe e una decina di anni fa uno l'hanno tagliato e questo è un souvenir che lui ha
You see
preso.
the profile?
E ora introduce la leggenda dell'albero.
And I don't believe that's a coincidence. And she was a very nice lady. She had a big
C'è il
heart.
profilo di uomo.
Here's her heart. And I don't believe that to be a coincidence. Because that's really a witch's face.
C'è
But,
interesse.
and
Cioè, lo vedi che c'è il profilo?
Dove, Linda?
see?
Qui dentro.
Ah, sì, sì, sì. Sì.
So, in France, when you don't like someone, you simply say, I'll never bite you. That's the strongest expression in France. Does that exist in Italy? No, do you use that metaphor?
No.
To be bitten in French means to be in love. We have sometimes less vocabulary in other countries, but in Romanticism we have more vocabulary. In English it doesn't exist. And it's true. So the church has tried to destroy that. Because if you like bites, you will not be afraid of the vampire. And the church wants you to be afraid of the vampire, because most people want to be vampires. Being a vampire is great. Everything concerning the vampire is beautiful. But the church has tried to destroy that successfully throughout the centuries. You know that vampires only enter your home if you invite them in. A vampire cannot force your door. The Romans had 4 gods to protect their door. Forsulus, Forsula, Limentinus, Limentina. And that didn't work. Anybody can enter your home except the vampire. Why would you be afraid of the only one who says, please can I come in? That's why people invent them. People are so unhappy. They're so poor, they're so afraid. They invent at least one nice creature who respects them. How can you be afraid of the only one who says, please can I come in? Nobody asks you, can I come in? They come in. The priest comes in to take the money, the taxes, which in French is called la dîme. The Lord comes in to rape your wife, to take the children. The soldiers come in to kill you. The vampire is the only one who says, please, can I come in? Why do you be afraid of him? People are not masochistic. They invent legends to protect them. Werewolves, fairies, witches are there to protect you against the nasty people outside. That's why you invent legends. Oh, no, that's extraordinary. So, the church who does not like you to like vampires starts 12th century to invent exemplas, counter legends. When you have a happy legend, it's the people. When you have an unhappy legend, it's the church. To destroy courtly love, starting the 13th century, the church invents the Virgin Mary legends. I'll tell you one legend. This young man is in love with this lady. He loves her so much, but she does not love him. So he goes to see a priest to say, my father, what can I do? I love you. I'm crazy in love. He says, well, pray the Virgin Mary for 1 year, every day on your knees. He says, okay. So no more battle, no more love, no more food, no more drink. Every day he prays, 12 hours a day, the Virgin Mary. And after 1 year, the Virgin Mary appears. And she says, what do you want? So I love this lady, can you help me, please? And she says, well, you seem to be sincerely in love, so this is it. Pray me another year, and I'll come back in 1 year, and if you still want her love, I will give you what you ask. Ah, and he does that every day. And 1 year later, she appears. And she says, in your heart, who's more beautiful, her or me? He says, you. Prove it to me. Kill yourself, and come and join me in heaven. He does that. Suicide sometimes is very nice for Christians. So it's what you call platonic love. They replace the physical contact with an artificial spiritual contact. That's to destroy courtly love. Same thing with vampires. What is the most read book starting the 15th century to the 18th century in Europe? What is the most read book? Not the Bible. Because the Bible is prohibited from being translated. You cannot translate legally. You have to keep it in Latin. Why? Because nobody speaks Latin except priests. Because in the Bible there are so many complicated things, the church does not want you to misinterpret the Bible. So they ask you to read books that tell you what you have to understand in the Bible. They're called books of catechism or tradition. The first book is called, where is it? I have 20.
Non è possibile da tradurre, quindi ti fanno leggere dei libri sul cattolicesimo che interpretano la Bibbia. E questo è il primo libro.
No, sorry. I have, is it here? Yeah. 1 second, it's around here. I have. It's probably here.
Diceva che
Vai,
insomma
traduce
tutta
a te.
è la chiesa che ti impaurisce, ti crea le leggende, perché dice se viene uno ti vuole rapire l'amore te la rapisci, se entra un soldato ti ammazza, il vampiro è l'unico che ti chiede posso entrare, quindi cosa c'è, perché c'è bisogno di inventare tutti questi lì che ti proteggono, quando poi è l'unico che se non lo fa entrare non entra in
Ma
casa.
che diceva un
Hai
anno di
this
pregare la
morning.
Madonna?
Racconta questa leggenda che dice che c'era questo ragazzo innamorato di questa tizia e gli dicevano di pregare un anno la Madonna,
E
dopo
lei
un anno
sarebbe-
ritornava e la Vergine Maria.
Sì.
E
It's
dice
called
se-
The Imitation of Jesus Christ. You've heard of that book? L'imitazione di Christus. It's the most read book.
no,
147 translations starting the 15th century. I have 23 translations. I have the only 3 complete translations in the world. But I had.
Quello lì da
I'll be
come
back
lo
in 2
sapevo,
seconds.
infatti allora
Che
è
ha detto?
pericoloso.
no, ti sta dicendo di no, che neanche
Appunto,
entra,
che-
cioè tutto, la gente li piace inventare
dai,
le
sì,
leggende, neanche sul
ah,
rispetto dei denti.
wait.
Non è
Sono
vero.
stati gli egizi che hanno un po' inventato
Sì,
i denti,
sì.
però la gente mediamente gli cascavano tutti i denti,
No.
quindi il vampiro è uno che dopo la morte rinvivisce, come fa a avere i denti se la gente non aveva modo quando gli cascavano di rimetterseli, quindi ci hanno inventato poi la leggenda sopra i denti.
Sì, qualcosa del
No,
genere lo
not that.
sapevo.
Ah. This is interesting, by the way.
Ma
Just
lui
a second.
com'è che si è avvicinato a questa cosa?
Ah.
C'è scritto
Voilà.
anche dei libri, ma questo non ce l'ho.
13 libri, 12.
Sì.
Mi sa un po' di cose. Cosa? Football.
Ah, well, I have better.
Sì, ma sicuramente gioca. Sì.
So in the Imitation of Jesus Christ, where it is said that to go to heaven you have to suffer, 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 damned be he who does not know how miserable his life is. Damned be he who is happy on this miserable earth. Happiness leads you to hell. Pleasure leads you to hell. Love leads you to hell. Only unhappiness brings you to heaven. So there's a sentence which is generally omitted in most translations. Love bites and kills you. Love bites and kills you. Where does that come from? That's a vampire symbol. So the church in the books puts small sentences saying, no, biting is bad. Biting kills you. No, biting gives you eternal life. This is the worst book I've ever read in my life. It's the third book. It's the second book every Christian must read. There are 47 translations. This is the only complete translation in the world. I found it for €3 20 years ago. Even on eBay, on internet, it's impossible. It's called The Spiritual Combat, Laurent Scopoli, 16th century.
Cos'è?
Combat spirituale, questo è il peggior libro che abbia mai letto.
You will not find it on the internet. You will not find it
Perché?
anywhere.
Non lo trovate da nessuna parte con la traduzione completa, è l'unico.
To go to heaven, you have to suffer, suffer to an extent, not 5 minutes, not 1 year, all your life. 5 seconds of happiness leads you to hell.
Devi
In-
soffrire, 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 prendere in
In the
prezzo.
book of Isaiah, there's a metaphor. If, ladies, you are tempted by the sin of love, the only way to defend yourself is to take your children, which are the proof of sin, because to have children you have to make love, and kill them by squashing their head against the wall. That's in the Bible. But people say, no, it's a metaphor. I don't know what. No, real. The only reason to have children is to kill them if God asks you to do it, like he asked Abraham to kill his son. And that's first degree reading. This is not a metaphor.
It's
And that's the
terrible.
nicest part of the book.
Cosa? Cosa dice?
Dice che anche i figli sono l'oggetto del peccato perché la Bibbia ti dice, questa è la versione quella completa, che se te hai fatto un figlio hai fatto sesso, quindi hai fatto un peccato,
certo.
quindi se Dio te lo chiede devi uccidere come Abramo, quindi è una cosa terribile per lui, il peggior libro che abbiamo letto.
Minchia.
And this is the church, the book which the church recommends every Christian to read. And it's impossible to find. It's 1854, this edition. I've never found another one.
Questa è
The
l'unica
title?
edizione completa.
The Laurent Scopoli,
Combat Spiritual.
take a picture. What? Of the cover.
Vai, se vuoi fare una foto.
Vuoi fare la foto?
Italian. The country of love hates love.
Thank you.
So, what is the first text that says, hey, I love you, drink my blood? I'd say Twilight before Twilight. I'm an optimist, despite all the horrible books I read. I believe we haven't changed in 40,000 years. For the past 40,000 years, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be happy, and happiness is the same. Everybody wants a house. Everybody wants a home. Everybody wants friends. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to eat. Everybody wants to have fun on Saturday evening. What changes, the people who don't want you to be happy. Nice, not nice is the ratio that changes. Because some people tell you love is an 18th century invention. Some teachers at university will tell you, no, love doesn't exist. 1 child out of 4 dies at birth. It's true, to the 18th century. 1 mother out of 5 dies giving birth. You cannot love someone who's going to die. So you get detached. It's true, a lot of people don't love their children. They have children to perpetuate the family. In Roman antiquity, in Greek antiquity, the father had a right of life and death on his children. He can kill them at birth. He has 5 daughters, he wants a son, he kills the daughters. Or he throws them in the street, where you can pick them up to rape them, to become slaves, or he can sell them to the whorehouse on the corner of the street, where they're brought up and made prostitutes after the age of 8. I hate Greek. I hate ancient Greece. I mean, come on. Plato, Aristotle hated women. They never tell you that at school. Oh, Greek philosophy is great. I say, no. All Greek philosophers are pedophiles. No, you don't call them pedophiles. You call them pederasts. That's nice. Every Greek boy is raped by the age of 12. But if you dare at Sorbonne to tell people that's pedophilia, no, that's philosophical initiation. It's not sexual, it's nice. Come on, bullshit. Let's give a word to things. They were horrible monsters, but they write well. Is that an excuse? No. The way women were treated. In Greek history, women have no soul. Greek antiquity is the only civilization where women have no soul. Women are mothers or whores. In Egyptian, women are more important. So the more we advance, maybe the less civilized we get. Let's tell people what the truth. So people tell me, but that's normal at the time. People were different. I say, bullshit. We started killing Jews 100 years after Christ. We've been doing it for 20 centuries. We've been torturing women for 20 centuries. Maybe we can continue because it's normal. I say, no, it's not normal. So I find people throughout history who admire women. I don't project my sensitivity to the past because historians cannot have feelings. A historian who has feelings is not a historian. You have to remain neutral. I say, no. That's why children hate history courses because most teachers have no feelings. Let's put feelings in history.